Hey guys, you're on the 14th step. It's a podcast. It's about addiction and recovery. My name is Mark. I am a professional counselor and a recovering addict.
My name is Skip. I'm a recovery coach and a recovering addict. Today I want to talk about a topic.
Let's do it.
I want to talk about being functional in your addiction versus unfunctional. Or defunctional. Or
we're going to make up two different words.
Misfunction.
That's the functional addict, right?
Defective.
Yeah, defective.
Yeah, functional addict.
The functional alcoholic, functional addict. We hear about it a lot. Does it exist?
Well, that's a great question because I can tell you this from my own personal experience. I was functional for 20 years. I would say I was very functional. I have a record of stuff I accomplished in that amount of time. Mm-hmm. And I was taking pills the entire time.
What kind of work were you doing?
I was in ministry and working as a pastor, doing music, video, editing. I got a long list. I can pull out a Rolodex. It goes all the way of all the stuff I did. And it's awesome. Very proud moments.
For sure.
Huge milestones, all that kind of good stuff. Whole time. Using pills, man. Is that functional?
I would say it is. I think functional addiction absolutely exists.
Mm-hmm. And I get when I talk to, as I've had the conversation with a lot of people that aren't familiar with addiction and this, I am always surprised because in their mind, because I guess they watch it on movies and shows and stuff. Intervention, there you go. That when you take a drug, you're zoned out and nodding out and you pass out for 6 hours and then it wears off and you wake up and you're back to normal again. And that's what they associate with, where you're just like, hey, what's going on?
Right.
Hey, I need 10.
Or you're so drunk that you're slurring your words, or you're so amped up that you're just not even making sense.
And you haven't slept and you're having a psychotic break and police are coming to pull you off the ceiling.
But people have this image of drug addiction and drug users as it's a very visible and noticeable thing. I used for 15 years, and most of the time you would never know I was high. Never. I could get up in front of classrooms. I could get up in front of parents, because I was working in schools at the time as a prevention guy, telling kids not to use, ironically. That's what I was doing. I never got caught. Because I know someone would have said something if they would have suspected it.
Of course.
But I was functioning like you. The reason why I used drugs, the draw for me was so that I could function.
Right.
So I could get out of bed, I could feel motivated, I could feel happy and excited about the day, and I could be talkative. That was what was driving it. I didn't want to get intoxicated.
No. It tricked my brain into thinking that before I could be useful, I needed to have a certain amount of this in my system. That was medicine to get me able to do my daily things.
And the really insidious part about that is that becomes truth.
100% truth.
Because if you do it long enough, then you do have to have it in order to be useful in any capacity.
Because if I didn't have it,
then you're really going to be messed up.
I was the most unuseful, anxiety-ridden, shaking. My brain only thought about one thing and completely turned off to the rest of the world around me.
I think that this kind of high-functioning addiction is very dangerous. It's in its own way. Obviously, if you are using dope or drinking a gallon of vodka every day, and you're just way out there intoxicated, that's real dangerous. But there's a different kind of dangerous if you're one of these functioning addicts, and that's what fueled my addiction for 15 years. I used for 15 years, and I could keep putting off the withdrawal, or I knew that someday that I was going to have to pay the penance for what I was doing, but I could put it off because I had things to do. I got things to do, so I'm not going to quit today.
Yeah, I got responsibilities.
Right. And that turns from one day into a month, into 6 months, into 10 years before you know it.
You kick
that can down the road the whole time.
I said that in 2007, and I go, yeah, I'll take care of this later. And in 2022, you know what I mean? I'm like, well, I woke up and we're in Star Trek land. Huh?
It's the future.
What happened? Yeah, it is. Okay, here's another one. You ready for this one?
Mm-hmm.
When you are functioning,
Yeah.
that people around you can enable you. And I'll give you an example. I know someone long time struggling with drugs, and went through treatment, and comes home and is still struggling, white knuckling, trying to figure out what to do, living with relatives, and the guy relapsed, and they didn't know what to do to hold their bottom lines. They had all these, so they called me, and I talked to the family, and I'm talking to them, and they're very, very nice, and I have a heart for that kind of a conversation because I know what they're dealing with, and I'm talking to them, and the brother-in-laws whose home it is, he said, I guess I don't know enough about it because I don't know when he is using versus when he's not, except for the fact that he tends to get a lot more done around the house when he's using. So I'm torn because he's a better roommate and a better tenant when he actually cleans up and all that. I guess when he thinks he feels good and he's using. And in my mind, I'm like going, oh my goodness. I mean, he's right.
Of course.
When he's not, and he's sitting here on the couch playing video games, trying to pass time because he has nothing. It's so bad, man. It's so multifaceted and many layers to this when you come with relationships. That's why it's so hard to dig down to the bottom of it, because there's no bottom.
It is. I've talked to so many people who have gotten sober. Maybe they've drank or they used for a long time. They got sober, and then I don't know what the family's expecting, especially like the spouse. But all of a sudden they're not as fun as they used to be. They don't really feel like doing things like they used to be. They're not as exciting as they used to be. Things are so much different, and they end up missing the old person. Even though it was hell, they still miss that person because there's a lot of highs in there too.
Yep.
And people have to relearn how to even interact with other people and how to be a parent or a husband or a wife or whatever role that you were that was dependent on using to be functional. You got to learn how to function like that.
That's why it's so hard to come back to your same surroundings and be successful, because there's such a pattern of you that really wasn't you, and now you're going to try to be the real you, and everything around you goes, well, what happened to the other guy?
It is a family disease. It requires everyone working together to get over that initial hump of learning. I got to learn who I am, because I have been this person for so long, and it has been dependent on what I've been doing, the drug. I need to learn who I am without it and learn how to be. And I need help for that. When the family, and this is where it gets really hard too, because look, it's not the family's responsibility to make the other person sober.
Right.
And the family shouldn't have to carry that burden, but there is a part, I think, that the family can play that can really help improve the stability of someone's recovery. And that's a hard order, because if you've been putting your family through hell for 10 years and then you go off to rehab and you come back and they're like, oh yeah, well, you guys need to change too. They're like, we've been victimized by this situation for so long, we don't need to do anything. He's a screwed up one.
Yeah.
And I hear that over and over and over again.
Yeah. Or what about relationships, or you meet someone and you're already using, and the only way, and you end up dating, engaged, married, and they only know you that way. And then at some point down the road, you do get clean, and you become someone they don't even like. Somebody they don't even know or like.
They don't know.
How many times have you heard that story? A lot.
Yes.
Because it's like, well, you were never that way, you know?
I was talking to an individual just this past week, and he was talking about his marriage, and they had been separated, but he was like, they met in a bar. So alcohol was a part of their relationship from the very beginning.
Right.
And it caused a whole lot of problems. They ended up separating, and this individual went and got sober, but and his wife still drinks. They don't even know what to do with each other anymore.
Right.
It's a tough thing, and I think that's one
because guess what? Here we go back to this word. When you got two different people that live and it interacts with them different ways. One of them may be functional.
Yeah.
And the other one may not be.
Right.
And the one that's functional is going to say, well, why can't you get that under control?
That's right.
And they go, well, I can't. So you need to stop to help me.
It is such a... It
tangled
just
web
depends
we weave.
on the individual in question, because and I don't really like the whole term functional addict because for some people, you know, and what does it even mean? For some people, they may use forever and they don't really have a huge problem. But
I always defined it, and wrongly, I always associated with functional alcoholic. That people could work all day long.
Yeah, come home and drink
then
a
get off
six-pack,
at
right?
5 o'clock and drink a 12-pack and go to bed.
Right.
Pass out.
Right.
That's what I always called it. And that may be one version of it. I don't even know.
For that person that's doing
that's it.
It's for a lot of us, the stories that I've heard, and in my case, I was functioning up until the point that I wasn't.
Yeah.
And that drop off was very quick.
Yep.
It takes one mistake. It takes one, tragedy or one little thing that we do that's off that someone notices, and then it can come crashing down very quickly.
Yep.
So definitely I was a functioning addict.
Wouldn't you say that it, in a lot of cases, functioning equates to lying and keeping it a secret?
Well, see, that's what I was doing. I had to.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to wear it on my sleeve.
You're only functioning as long as nobody knows.
Right.
So
what happens when you get caught?
You're a functioning liar.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's exhausting even without the drug.
Functioning thief.
Yeah.
Functioning.
Having to live a double life, having to be fake, having to pretend constantly, having to have an entire persona that's...
Dude, I should have won the Academy Award 10 years in a row. I should have been standing up there with that golden statue going, wow, this thing's heavy.
We get so good at faking it, and that's how we survive.
I'd like to thank the Academy. You like me. You really like me.
I felt so relieved when I finally got it over with and was able to speak openly about it. It was like a weight was lifted off me when I could be, and I had to be in a room with other recovering addicts to do that.
And guess what? When I got that same feeling too, as a weight lifted off. I think at that point, I truly became functional.
Yeah, for sure. It takes honesty. And that's the thing that we are the most afraid of for so long.
Yep. And it's the easiest and best thing you can do.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Guys, if you have a story about someone who's a functioning addict, or if you want to argue with us about it,
yeah, please
leave a comment. We will be happy to discuss that on a future podcast. Keep coming back. Stay clean.
See you later. Please like. I still, at the end of that video, we were like and subscribe. I was like, please, we're begging you.
We're hungry. They keep us locked in here.
Yeah, we don't work.
We can't leave until we have 300 subscribers.
We're not functioning.